everyone, I'm Alex Sams, and this is Lady Comic Book History, where we discuss female heroes, their evolution, and their impact on comics, comic book movies, and nerd culture in general. We are being brought to you by heroic girls using science fiction and media in the fight for gender equality. Hello, everyone. We are almost done with the 60s. We are about to tackle 1966. And we're going to get right into it. We are starting the day with Nightshade, who was first introduced in Captain Atom, issue number 83, as Captain Atom's partner. Her real name is Eve Eden, and her father is a U.S. Senator. She is a beautiful blonde woman, and she disguises herself in a black wig when she takes on the persona of Nightshade. She was, of course, romantically involved with Captain Atom, but she did get her own backup series in the last 3 published issues, 87 through 89, and appeared in the last unpublished Captain Atom story that appeared in a fanzine, the Charlton Bullseye. In her backup series, we get a glimpse into her origin. Her mother was a visitor from another dimension, and she had the ability to transform into living two-dimensional shadows, an ability that she had passed on to her children. In 1981, Nightshade appeared in issue number 7 of the Charlton Bullseye comic. And as we've discussed before, all DC characters have multiple origins, backgrounds, personalities, and it's just the dumbest thing ever. But here we go. Nightshade was integrated with the rest of the universe during the Crises on Infinite Earths storyline and was revamped as a government super spy who worked for the Suicide Squad. She obviously had other versions to her character, so here we go. She also appeared in Earth 2, 4, and 13, Countdown Arena, The Flash, Justice League Association, Destiny, Kingdom Come, and Watchmen. That's cool and all, but she was largely irrelevant, and so we're going to talk about the love of my life, Peggy Carter, who Haley Atwell was perfect for, by the way. Also, Haley, I'm also in love with you. She first appeared as an unnamed character as a wartime love interest in Captain America in Tales of Suspense number 75 and 77 in May of 1966. She appeared again as the older sister of Sharon Carter in Captain America number 161 in May of 1973 and was later retconned as Sharon's aunt due to the aging nature of comic book characters. Sure, we'll pretend that makes sense. In the original comic book run, her love story with Captain America gets deterred because of amnesia caused by an exploding shell, which causes her to return to living with her parents in Virginia. She, of course, worked for S.H.I.E.L.D., and most of her appearances before falling into dementia and being retired to a nursing home. So we're seeing that a lot of her actual origins were accurate to the way that she was depicted in the Marvel Universe. Interesting tidbit, in the Earth 65 universe, Peggy plays a role very similar to Nick Fury does in the main universe, being the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and even sporting an eye patch. Obviously, we're keeping it in the Carter family for this one. We've got Sharon Carter, who first appeared in Tales of Suspense number 75 in March of 1966. She was apparently killed in Captain America issue 233, but was revived in issue 444. She appeared as a supporting character in the 2010 through 2013 Secret Avengers series from issues 1 to 21. And Sharon joined S.H.I.E.L.D. because she was inspired by her Aunt Peggy. Again, comic book accurate MCU. Yes. She also falls in love with Steve Rogers. It really must be in the bloodline. Steve's really got a hold over these Carter women. Look, I understand that Sharon has more of a panel for panel with Steve than Peggy does, but that relationship has always been super weird and super gross to me. Hey, I loved your aunt when she was young, but she's old now and you kind of look like her, so let's do this? Sorry, no. I will fully own up to the fact that how I feel about that relationship was made entirely worse by its adaptation in the MCU. We all love Haley Atwell, and her and Chris Evans have unbelievable chemistry, which just made that pairing so much more beautiful and worth watching. And I absolutely adore the woman that plays Sharon. She has her own series. She had her own series for a while. It's called Revenge. Go watch it on Hulu. It's amazing. But no, their relationship was super unnecessary, awkward, and it was so gross. And they had no chemistry. The part in Civil War where he just awkwardly leans over to kiss her, and he said that felt overdue. And like, no, it didn't. Nobody wanted that. No one was rooting for it. Every time you were on screen, you both looked super uncomfortable. No. Peggy forever. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, short commercial break, then we'll be back. Okay, guys, I am here to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. I had absolutely no idea where to start. I love listening to podcasts, and I knew I had a good idea for one, but I really didn't know how to get started with all the technical stuff. And Anchor makes it super, super easy. First of all, it's free, which is great when you're just starting out and you have no money to support your creative endeavors. Having free resources is amazing. And their creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or your phone. They have an app that makes it super easy to record everywhere. I have an adapter for my microphone that hooks into my phone, so I can literally record my podcast wherever I am, no matter what. Anchor also does all the heavy lifting for you. They distribute your podcast so it can be heard on all of the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so many more, which makes life so much easier. When there's someone handling the business distribution side of it, you get to focus on just creating, which is what I love to do. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. They handle all the sponsorship matching and everything for you. It's amazing. It's everything you need for your podcast all in one place. So if you are interested in executing your brilliant idea for a podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Guys, seriously, it's the best decision you can make for your future podcast. All right, next up, we've got the White Witch, or Misa. She made her first appearance in Adventure Comics number 350 as an ancient magic user and an agent of the villainous Prince Evio, as she was also Dreamgirl's sister. She joined the Legion of Superheroes to help them defeat Darkseid in the Great Darkness Saga. She also plays a prominent part in the Magic Wars storyline that concluded in Legion of Superheroes Volume 3. She was one of the many characters that fell victim to DC's many reboots in her post-Zero Hour appearances. She was no longer related to Dreamgirl, but she was the daughter of Mordru. Rebooted again in the 3-boot continuity, White Witch appeared as a member of Met Ranz's Wanderers. Okay, here it gets even more convoluted, even for DC. I know I just gave you 3 totally different origins, but wait, there's more. In the Legion of the Three Worlds limited series, White Witch casts a spell that brings the original reboot and the 3-boot versions of the Legion of Superheroes into their reality. Sounds unnecessary, but here we go. After a flash of light, Misa emerges as the Black Witch with increased powers to defeat most of the villains single-handedly. I'm not going to say that totally fits my profile of women being over, once they gain a certain level of power, they're either emotionally or mentally unstable, or they're just considered evil. That's fine. Continuing, White Witch is one of those characters that walks the line between good and bad. She has romantic relationships with Legion villains, but does pretty consistently fight alongside the Legionnaires. I will say that the Legion of Superheroes is possibly one of the weakest teams with the most poorly written storylines and characters, so I really don't do super deep dives into analyzing these characters because there's just an absurd amount of, yes, sexism, but more than that, it's just filled with poorly written characters, and it's just not worth making myself angry. Even though I love to be angry, that's why I pick internet fights. But we're going to get on to possibly one of the best female characters ever written. She was not always like that, but everyone knows who I'm talking about. We get to follow that up with Poison Ivy, created by Robert Cagnier and Sheldon Moldoff. She first appeared in Batman issue number 181 in June of 1966. Cagnier originally molded her after Betty Page, giving her the same haircut and look. Betty Page was a pinup girl, just throwing that out there. After her first appearance, she continued to appear in various Batman comic books and had a major role in the Black Orchid miniseries. She had no origin in the 60s. She was merely a temptress. J.T. Cool, who was the writer that helped further Ivy's personality summed up what he loved about her like this. The thing I love most about Poison Ivy is her walking that line between bastion of Mother Nature and psycho eco-terrorist. She sees herself as the hand of Mother Nature. If Mother Nature were God, then Ivy would be her Jesus. She defends the defenseless nature of the world and truly believes in her cause. Maiming, mauling, and mutilating are simply extreme measures, but it's nothing compared to what irredeemable cruelties humanity's done to the world of nature. Ivy always sees the greater good as she punishes those who deserve it. It's an amazing quote because I am of the firm belief Ivy is an anti-hero. She is not a villain. I will die on this hill. Her and Harley Quinn are perfect. It's great. It's fine. In her pre-crisis existence, Dr. Lillian Rose is a botanist who is persuaded into assisting Mark Legrand with the theft of an Egyptian artifact containing ancient herbs. He, in turn, tries to poison her with said herbs, but instead she discovers that she survives and discovers she has acquired an immunity to all natural toxins and diseases. Post-crises, her name is Pamela Lillian Isley, because that was a necessary change. Still a botanist, she grows up wealthy with emotionally distant parents. In this version of her origins, she is seduced by her professor, insert eye roll here, and he injects her with poisons and toxins as an experiment. She nearly dies twice, driving her insane because, of course, what's the only way to become a strong, powerful woman in the comic book world? Say it with me, class. You have to be emotionally or mentally unstable. That's right, we've got another one. I'll be posting a list on the Patreon for your convenience with important plot points to support that issue cited in case a mouth breather living with in his mother's basement tries to challenge you. Ivy plays a villainous role, but she is the furthest thing from an actual villain. She falls in the same category as Harley in the form of being an anti-hero. I mean, come on, guys. She cared for orphaned children after Gotham City went through an earthquake. She nursed Harley back to health after the Joker tried to kill her. Ivy is delightful, and everyone can fight me on that. The New 52 version of Ivy suffered less than most other New 52 reboots. Still hate that continuity with all my heart. In this reboot, Ivy is recruited by the Birds of Prey. In her New 52 origin, she was born with a skin condition that prevented her from leaving home, so she spent a lot of her time in her family's garden when she was allowed outside. The garden where her abusive father had murdered and buried her mother. Tragic backstory. Really unnecessary. Her powers were a result of her spilling chemicals that she was working on herself, giving her the immunity to all poisons and viruses. Honestly, the other two origin stories were more believable and made more sense, but it's fine. Of course, my favorite part of Ivy's storylines is that she falls in love with Harley Quinn, and they are easily my favorite DC couple. I will do a whole episode on their relationship. That will be in the Harley Quinn episode for sure, but we have to move on. I have another hero to talk about. Next up, we have Princess Projectra. Can you tell which company it's from? I'll give you a hint. It's DC. Created by Jim Shooter when he was only 13 years old, Jim had sent an unsolicited script into DC to the editor at the time, Mort Weisinger. And Weisinger was so impressed that he asked Shooter for more scripts. So he created an origin for Princess Projectra and a few other characters and sent it in. Projectra's story first appeared in Adventure Comics issue 346 in July of 1966. In 1985, a new character, Censor Girl, was introduced as a fully masked hero who turned out to be Projectra the whole time. She was a regular member of the Legion of Superheroes. She was of the royal family of Orando. It's a different planet. The post-Zero Hour continuity actually erased her character from existence, but she was brought back in the 3-boot, where she was human and depicted as non-powered but well-endowed supporter of the new Legion. Her parents died, and that trauma unlocked her hereditary powers. Yet she blames the Legion for the destruction of her homeworld, so she seeks to enact vengeance upon them. And in true comic book fashion, her powers were increased with this version of the character, and at the same time, her character became cold, calculated, and detached. And in the post-Infinite Crises continuity, they straight up had her have a mental breakdown. Gotta love it when the sexism is not subtle at all. All right, y'all. I need to calm down. I will be working on this list of just women who had more substantial power when they were emotionally and mentally unstable or evil. And we'll be posting that list on the Patreon. And we're going to compare it to men that are generally considered heroes and overpowered. Because I guarantee you it's not the same. But here we go. That's it for 1966. We are quickly wrapping up the 60s, and I should be on the 70s by probably February. All right, y'all. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time. I'm Alexandria Sams, and for more comic book related content, check out my YouTube page as well as my vocalmedia.com. Just search my name in that creators bar. My Instagram is fangirlproductions13, and you can check out all of my work, my personal writing, articles, comic book stuff on ladycomicbookhistory.squarespace.com. This has been Lady Comic Book History, and I will talk to you guys next time.